Ciencin Henriquez wrote a great piece in Salon where she talks about how she took a purity pledge when she was a teenager, and then she actually waited until marriage to lose her virginity. Now, she got married really young. She was 20 years old, and she married her high school sweetheart. And before she got married, all they would really do is maybe some heavy petting, but they would kiss. And she said that she liked kissing him. And
I'm just going to interrupt for one second there. I mean, it's such a funny thing among religious people, and I was like this when I was younger to some degree too. So I know how goofy it is, and I've been wrong about it too. Like heavy petting, like God is looking down on you. Oh no, it's okay. Rub up against one another, okay? But don't take the pants off because then I'll get really pissed. Like, I don't think that's how it works.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, forward.
Well, you know, we've talked about how ultra-religious girls will let guys in the back door, and like that's their like compromise, which is disastrous.
Yeah.
Right?
Like again, I picture a deity looking down, like, oh, you got me on that one. I forgot about that loophole. No, the good one, good one. No, you gotta let him go. You gotta let him go.
All right. So she ends up marrying her high school sweetheart, and you know she was really looking forward to the day. And then on the day of her wedding, she got really sick. She started vomiting, and it wasn't because she was, you know, excited or nervous about, you know, reading her vows or anything. It was because of the fact that she realized, oh my God, I've been with him for 3 years, but I barely know anything about him. So you know they have their wedding, and she has like family members that are like, you know, winking at her and like winking at him.
It's your big night. How bad is it when like his uncle's like, oh, grandma, like, oh, tonight's the night. Hey, take it easy, man.
Yeah.
Take it easy. I don't want to hear that from you.
I'd be super uncomfortable. And of course, part of the reason why she got married so young is because she took the purity pledge, and she's like, I can't wait anymore. Let's have sex, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, on their wedding night, she mentions how she gets into like this like negligee thing. And, you know, they're about to have sex, but she feels sick to her stomach. She doesn't want to do it, right? Like, she doesn't feel like it's right. And they finally do have sex, and she didn't enjoy it. She says the following: 3 minutes later, when he finished, he appeared pleased with himself, and I was glad that it was out of the way.
Now, I don't like her, okay? And I'm a bad guy, but I don't. I mean, so first of all, like, you tease this guy for like 3 years. He put up with it when he shouldn't have, which later she's going to punish him for that. And then now that he finally gets to have sex, first of all, she tries to get out of it that night. Oh, for Christ's sake, come on, man. And then second of all, oh, he's done 3 minutes later. Oh, you got him, okay? Like what?
So I knew that
3 minutes, okay, like, so she's making fun of him in a sense, like, and I didn't get anything out of it. Well, maybe you should have said something.
I think that she wrote the article in the wrong way. And the reason why I say that is because like I emailed her and I wanted to get a sense of who she really is, because the way she wrote the article, you're right, Jake, it makes it seem like she is putting him down needlessly, but in reality, you know, in my back and forth with her, she said, look, he wasn't inconsiderate and he wasn't the bad guy, but the reality was she was 20 years old and she was a virgin, right? So it seems like she gave up on their sex life from the very beginning, but the reality is, after they had bad sex for the first time, she didn't know what good sex was. She didn't know how to communicate about what she wanted because she hadn't explored sexually.
Well, look, I agree with her on that. I agree with her that, you know, remaining a virgin until you're married is a disastrous idea and is much more likely to lead to a quick divorce. So on the substance, I agree with her. But the more she writes, the less I had sympathy for her.
I can understand what you mean by that. But I actually can understand why she feels the way that she does. It's because you haven't explored anything when it comes to your sexuality, and you get married. And you know, she talks about how she was homeschooled from like 2nd to 9th grade, and that, you know, her family really pressured her into buying into this whole purity pledge. And it was peer pressure, which made her hold on to that pledge. And she said a lot of her friends didn't follow through with the pledge that they made, but she was kind of stubborn about it. And she's like, no, I made this promise, I'm really gonna stick to it. And it ended up really hurting her marriage. So they were together for about 6 months, and then she couldn't take it anymore. They kept having sex. She didn't enjoy it. She didn't like it.
Let me read you some of that, because I'm about to drop it on this one. Okay, she says, then as if Jesus were punishing me for moving on, I got a urinary, meaning like from him to getting married, because she made a vow to Jesus. I got a urinary tract infection on the 2nd day of our honeymoon. I sighed in relief when the doctor told me that I should not engage in any sexual activity until I had finished the antibiotics. Like, okay, like I feel like it's another thing to the husband, like, ha ha, sorry, now you're gonna have to wait longer. booyah. All right, but you got him. You already got him to wait 3 years. What's your problem?
I don't know why you think that she's like trying to throw her ex-husband under the bus. That's not what this is really about. It was more about her feelings about their sex life. She didn't enjoy sex because she didn't know what sex was or what enjoyable sex was.
She said 7 days later, my wifely duties resumed, and almost every time our clothes came off, my mind seemed to check out. I soon noticed that during those few minute intervals of sex, again throws them under the bus, few minutes of interval of sex, my mind was focusing on something else, anything else. She went on to say, this was not lovemaking. There was no bond, no sanctity. This was not amazing sex I was promised from the pulpit. This was a disappointment 3 to 4 times a week. And she goes on to say about, oh my God, like, it was like I was reading from a grocery list. She was just trying not to concentrate on the sex in any way, shape, or form.
Because she thought that there was something wrong with her. By the way, important fact that we missed at this point. He wasn't a virgin when they got married, right? He was already experienced. So she was under the impression that he knew what he was doing, but since she hadn't experienced it before, she thought she was broken, that there was something wrong with her, which is why she couldn't enjoy it. Another thing that she mentioned was the fact that before they got married, of course, like they're kissing and they're doing a little heavy petting because that's all they have, right? After they get married, he's been waiting so long to have sex with her that he just bypasses all of the foreplay, all of the kissing, all of the passion. And you know, when you don't have any affection, you just go right for the sex. Who the hell is going to enjoy that? So it's not like she's trying to say like, oh, everything was wrong with him. Her whole point of the piece was to say, look, saving it until marriage might work for some people, but for a lot of people, it's not a good idea because it's important to explore your sexuality, know what you like prior to finding a partner.
I agree with that substance, but again, I come back to, and then she says afterwards, when she got out of the marriage, she all of a sudden, then she's like, oh, then I started having sex with pilots and guys I didn't know, and they didn't even know my second name, and it was awesome, right? Now, if that was by itself, I'd say, have at it, Hoss, that's terrific, okay? But it seemed to me that she's like, oh, I love the bad guys, love giving it to him on the first night. That guy who was really nice to me and listened to me and wouldn't have sex with me for 3 fucking years while I busted his balls every single night. Oh yeah, he got done in 3 minutes. Ha, he sucked. And I hated having sex with him. And I was just thinking about groceries and yada yada. And then of course, as soon as I got out of that marriage, boom, where are you? Pilot, this, that, I'm open for business. So I felt bad for the guy.
Okay, I can understand why you feel bad for the guy, but it's just weird that you got that perception because when I was reading it, I didn't feel like she was putting him down at all, right? I got the sense that she made a horrible mistake. She was really inexperienced when it came to sex when she got married, and she made a horrible mistake because, you know, it caused a lot of pain and suffering within her relationship.
Drop it. All right, we go to the other justices. Court is in session. Justice Jackson, very important vote here. What's your thoughts? We'll do the usual TYT style. Is she guilty?
Of just being a bad, mean woman to her husband? Is that the basis?
I mean, well, you're guilty. You know what I'm talking about.
I'm going with not guilty.
Okay, interesting. Why?
Because I think there's more to it. A lot of times when there are the type of women that just kind of bash men or say, oh, he sucked at bad, especially if, say, he screws her over in the relationship and then she starts telling everybody what he did. Like, that's a different thing.
She wrote a whole article about it. I mean, it's not her fake name, it's her real name, and people know who she was married to the first time.
Right, but I think as it seemed like the intention of it wasn't to say, oh, she didn't mention, I didn't read the article, but it didn't seem like she mentioned he was such a bad guy. He was emotionally abusive.
No, to be fair, she never says that, and she does defend him in some little ways, etc. And I don't think that's the intention of the article. And in fact, I agree with the intention of the article. Okay, but as I'm reading the article, I'm feeling sick to my stomach for this guy, and I feel like she played with him. She played with him during the marriage. She played with him during the marriage.
How did she play with him? She took a purity pledge. He knew.
You want me to keep it real?
No. Hold on. Just stop for a second, okay? You're acting like this guy is some sort of moron who can't make decisions for himself. He was in a relationship with her. She said, hey, I'm not going to have sex until I get married, and we're young. We're not going to get married anytime soon, so you have a decision to make. And he decided to stay with her.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
So you decided.
And that's the whole point of this. I want to look out for my brothers. Don't. If a woman says, oh, you know what, just hang in there for 3 years while we do heavy and light petting and making out for 3 long years. Because then at the end it'll be great. Bullshit. Okay, get the hell out of that relationship. Don't put up with that bullshit. What's she gonna do? She's eventually gonna leave you and then bang the first guy she sees. Okay, it's a terrible mistake. Don't make that mistake. Okay.
Okay. I just think
now that's keeping it real.
Then,
I just
then
think
make
that-
that point from the beginning. Instead of making her seem like she's a horrible bitch, why don't you say, hey dudes, it's a bad idea to wait until marriage to have sex. That's something that we can both agree on. But instead, you're like, oh, she's a horrible person because she's
No, but she played it for her own ego. Oh, I'm with Jesus. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna be the last one who's a virgin, and I'm gonna make you suffer for 3 years, and then go, ha ha. I was just thinking of cucumbers and potatoes and Kleenex while we were having sex, and I never got into it. I never tried. And then as soon as I dumped you and broke up with you and we had this whole expensive marriage and then wedding, etc., then I gave it away immediately. And I don't have any problem with that. But like, why'd you fuck with a guy for that long time? You did it for your ego.
It sounds like a personal problem.
That is fair. Okay, but nonetheless, we continue.
Okay. Now the thing is, the argument, a lot of times these things seem like they're leaning towards this woman owed this guy so much. And if you're having a good sexual relationship, you kind of want each other to enjoy yourselves. And I feel like the conversation goes to, I can't believe she strung him along, he had blue balls. Maybe she had the women equivalent of blue balls, purple vagina. And so, like, you wanted to, everyone wants their thing. And then she finally marries this guy, and he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing in bed. And she's like, dude, I waited all this time for this minute and a half. So I mean,
oh man, this guy's so under
if the guy is expecting much more, because by the way, women can be boring in bed too.
Yeah,
we've had that conversation. And if a woman's boring in bed, I'm like, oh God, what else could I be doing right now? Because sex isn't like it's not life changing. It's not fucking crazy shit. Even when it's good, it's not like, oh my God, I've been building up all this time and I'm supposed to get miserable. It's like, we're humans, we can handle it. So if you wait for a while and then nothing works out and no one's good in bed and there's no chemistry, move on. You sucked. Maybe a girl who can go for your minute and a half is good. Right. Maybe a guy who's wild and crazy and put in every hole goes with her.
That's the one thing we all agree on, including the author. That don't wait, don't do that. It's a bad idea. It's better to know whether you're a match or not. But Justice Frisch.
I mean, think about it. One last thing.
Okay.
Her other point about him not giving her anything, it's kind of his fault too. I just rushed past everything.
Yeah,
you gotta
he didn't want to kiss her and be affectionate. I mean, come on. Like, is that really throwing him under the bus if that's the truth? Like, if he's just like, all right, I'm going to put it in. Like, let's get it in. You know what I mean?
All right, Tim Frisch.
I mean, everybody's first time and everybody's first relationship or even series of relationships is like a learning experience, I would say. Mm-hmm. And there are some people that choose to have their first learning experience marriage. And then sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. I think in this case, she came to like a harsh realization that it wasn't going to work out and she needed more experiences. But she didn't admit that it was a learning experience. She started assigning blame. Like, he was too short, or we weren't compatible, or we had waited too long, or Jesus this, or grocery list that. So,
guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Yes, we're tied up. Commander of the Armies of the East happens to be in the court right now. Aaron Wysocki, normally in Pittsburgh, but at Rebel headquarters today. He will be the vote that breaks the tie. Go ahead.
Deciding vote.
Deciding vote, Justice Wysocki.
I believe this is my first time ruling on a case in the court.
Yeah, that's true. All right, lead in. All right.
I'm going to say they're both guilty.
Oh, for Christ's sake. That doesn't break the tie.
So I don't know much about this case, but I do know that he was not a virgin and she was a virgin. So he's guilty because he owes her. Their first time is supposed to be something special. And especially if he's done it before, he should have knocked her socks off. She would have never wrote an article had he paid attention and done it the right way the first time.
No, he would ask her, like, if she wanted something. And she's like, yeah, whatever, tomatoes, Mr. Clean,
where did
whatever.
it say that?
No, it did. Oh, he would ask me if I wanted it a little gentle or like this or whatever. And she's like, whatever, I'm already checked out. I'm thinking about that pilot I'm going to have sex with later.
He's total. First of all, if that was even mentioned, it was subtle, and he totally exaggerated that. Come on.
It was in the article.
Yeah. And she's guilty. Cenk. She just needs to relax and maybe smoke some weed or something and just relax because she's putting way too much pressure on that guy.
Yeah. And look, speak up. And look, the best case you have, look, it's a tie. Let the people decide, okay? I guess if it's a tie goes to not guilty, okay? So, wow, that's a big relief to you, I'm sure. Okay, but look, and the best point you have, Anna, and in the email that she wrote you is, I was young. And so, like, I keep wanting to say as I read the article, why didn't you say something to the guy? At least give him a chance. Instead of checking out, say to him, hey, listen, I'd like this or I'd like to do that
because
before
she
you break
doesn't
up with
know
him.
what she likes, Cenk.
Well, then ask him and try instead of, oh, yeah, that was a dumb idea. I'm breaking up with you now and I'm going to go do other things. Like, give the kid a chance. Okay, I don't know. I don't know if it's personal. I don't know what it is, right? But it got me upset. And I understand she came from a good place in general, and she's trying to teach a lesson that's important, and she's right about the overall lesson. But look, man, it's a two-way street. So in some ways, Erin is right? A lot of times I feel like women are like, oh, no, I'm dismissive, right? Okay, well then speak up. You can talk to him, right?
All right, let's move on to another story.
Okay, you're angry, but I'm angry too.
Now I'm getting fucking angry. And okay, seriously, I want to move on. Because look, let's take a break, seriously.
This is the first time it's ever happened. I'm actually angry too. Okay? And so not at you, Anna.
No, look, and this is not feminist bullshit. This is not me being a feminazi. This is me giving someone credit for putting herself in a very vulnerable situation where she talks about the most personal and intimate details of her sex life. Okay? And was she wrong in not communicating? Sure, but at the same time, when you're 20 years old and you're a virgin and you've rushed into a marriage and you've been brainwashed by religion your entire life, I mean, can you really, really blame her for not knowing what to do or how to handle it? She says that she felt like she was broken because he wasn't a virgin. He knew what he was doing, but she had no idea. So she's like, what's happening? Why aren't I enjoying this, right? So she's in a tough situation. And when I read the article, honestly, I didn't get the sense that she was throwing her ex under the bus.
All right, so everybody read the article, make your own decision up. But I feel like nobody ever sticks up for that guy, right? But I understand what you're saying. My final point is, Anna is right about one thing for certain, which is that it did take courage for her to put herself out there and to write this, which was deeply personal, and throughout mentioned her own faults. And that does take courage, and you have to give her credit for that.